Well, thank you, Terry. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our joint webinar. We're gonna talk about a couple of things today, and those I think are gonna be relevant for the community at large and everybody on this webinar. So, I first wanted to introduce Orasi, and then myself and my partner in crime, Julio Ortega. So Orasi is a partner of Micro Focus today. It's probably one of the first partners that Mercury Interactive, that was the original inventor of LoadRunner and other tools for functional and automated testing in the United States. So we've worked together with that particular group for a very long period of time through several acquisitions, Mercury Interactive becoming a part of HP Software and then being acquired by Micro Focus. That's just our relationship. So we go way back. We know everybody there and everybody who comes along. Orasi is a company that helps its customers to go through the journey of DevSecOps. We are helping through the entire spectrum of activities happening on that journey. Anything to do with starting with development and application security and secure development of application and testing and monitoring and validating everything and making sure that everything runs well in production. So the entire cycle and the entire set of DevSecOps processes, we are helping our customers, making sure that everything works well. And so Micro Focus provides Orasi a big chunk of the tooling required to instrument those processes. And so we're going to talk about specifically, I know that everybody wanted to hear about LoadRunner Cloud today, which is a part of Micro Focus's LoadRunner Cloud family. I'm sorry, LoadRunner family. But of course, this is important to investigate and look at particular tools as part of the instrumentation of the process. So not just at a tool on its own, but how it fits the process, how it fits the style of management inside the company. And typically what we are trying to help with is to make the fit perfect. So, it's not the process that's built around the tool, it's the process and then the tooling. So that's just a few words about Orasi. We help with everything and anything in that aspect. And now I wanted to go through a little bio on about ourselves. So myself, I'll introduce myself. My name is Alex Weiss. I have been with Orasi for the last 4 years, but I have been in the field of performance engineering, performance testing for the last probably 15, 16 years now. And I worked at different companies for on different projects, dealing with all aspects of performance of the applications. And now I'm at Orasi helping our customers to share, and sharing my experience and collecting the information from the customers, so nobody has to reinvent the wheel in the aspect of performance testing, performance engineering. And I'll give Julio a chance to introduce himself as well. Julio, will you please?
Sure. Thank you, Alex. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Julio Arteaga. I'm a solution architect or solution consultant as well for Micro Focus. As Alex described, I've been around for about 22 years with the different iterations of the company and the solution itself, the LoadRunner portfolio, but I also focus on the ADM portfolio in general, which includes functional testing, performance testing, test management, methodologies, and all that fun stuff that goes with it. I am based out of New York City and happy to be here. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Julio. I just realized that I paused sharing and nobody have had a chance to see our faces. Can you guys see us now? Julio, do you see us on the screen share?
Yep, we can see it.
All right, good deal. Just wanted to make sure. So let's talk about LoadRunner Cloud then. Folks that are familiar with LoadRunner family in general and those that are not, just a few words about the LoadRunner itself. So LoadRunner has been around for almost 30 years now. That's the most mature product on the market from the performance testing perspective or application performance testing perspective. It went through multiple iterations and different variations of it came alive, starting with the desktop version, which used to be called just LoadRunner, and now it is called LoadRunner Professional. Then it evolved into LoadRunner Enterprise as the processes and practices of utilizing performance testing at the companies changed, allowing multiple teams to work concurrently and asynchronously on validating performance of their application and application components. And then LoadRunner Cloud is one of the latest developments, but latest meaning that it's already probably about 6 years old. It's one of the latest iterations of Micro Focus LoadRunner family. What essentially its goal was to create a tool that will allow to load in the cloud and from the cloud. As the cloud technologies evolved, that required something beyond what the enterprises had before when they had application testing environments inside their data centers. And so as those are moving into the cloud, and also when the requirement for scaling up the amount of load that was needed to validate the application performance increased. So that's how LoadRunner Cloud came to existence. I just want to make sure that we're going to go over the benefits of LoadRunner, and we're going to do this pretty quickly today. We don't have much time for that. We want to give you guys a general taste and understanding of the positioning of LoadRunner Cloud, what purposes it has. And then for more specific questions, etc., we're going to set up additional sessions, or we'll have a breakout room for that. But I just wanted to make sure that you guys have the expectations set right. So I'm going to show just a few slides, and we're going to go through a quick demo of the technology. So I'll just go through the benefits of having LoadRunner Cloud, new means of delivery of performance testing and creating load in different environments. So it's really robust. It's using the latest cloud technologies. It resides in multiple cloud providers, allowing you to create the load tests, scaling up to as much as 5 million virtual users concurrently, utilizing different cloud providers or the same cloud provider. So you can run it in Amazon, you can run it in Azure, and you can run it in Google Cloud as well. The beauty of it is that you can leverage your existing LoadRunner scripts as well as migrate for better and higher stability from open source tools, because LoadRunner Cloud is capable of running things like JMeter scripts, and it can run Gatling scripts, and you can take even Selenium scripts and run them as part of your performance test. And then, of course, it allows you to run API performance testing. So you can use a REST API. You can use CSV files to just quickly go through a set of requests and pages that you want to validate and measure the timings for. And also create, instead of a script, you can create a test from an HAR file, which is basically taking it from your browsers. As I mentioned before, the tests are run in multiple locations. So the presence of a LoadRunner Cloud, I'm going to show that in a second as part of the demo, is pretty much worldwide. So anywhere where Amazon and Azure and GCP have their locations, LoadRunner Cloud becomes more and more present. And so that means that you can test with realistic network conditions in place, and you can manipulate those as well as needed. So that will help understanding that your performance test results are from a real world, and will allow different applications accessed from different locations on the globe, be measured and see how they impact the server performance as well as the user experience. The reporting, the dashboards are kind of like a given thing, but that is something that is very important for collaboration purposes within the processes that are established. We're going to talk about the reduction of hardware maintenance. So, the traditional LoadRunner Professional or the LoadRunner Enterprise, formerly known as Performance Center, required hardware to be available to scale up the load tests and create higher levels of load and maintain that hardware and software. Well, that now is a thing of a past with LoadRunner Cloud, where the core components don't require your maintenance, and they don't take your hardware, and they don't need to live in your data center. So it's all in the cloud and maintained by the Micro Focus SaaS team. So all that is just a new way to deliver your load using your existing assets, things like your scripts, your scenarios, your methods, and your practices can all be ported into LoadRunner Cloud for a lighter experience. Additional things to mention about this. So beyond the scalability, as you can see here, and I'm going to show that in a slide, it can be run under subscription model. So where you will run with virtual users during the subscription period. So that allows you to utilize LoadRunner Cloud not only as part of the practice, but also for specific projects. As well, and in addition to that, we're talking about integration with Git, where you can store and version control your scripts created with Vuegen or any other tool. For example, right, if you're creating JMeter scripts or REST API tests, and you want to manage those in Git repository, that is something that helps, again, to be a part of the modern SDLC processes, where you can actually make sure that you're running the correct version of the script in the correct version of the test. So that synchronization allows LoadRunner Cloud to help you maintain the tests faster, meaning that whenever, for example, you committed a new version of the script, that can be populated throughout all the tests that are using that script inside LoadRunner Cloud. So that, again, allows you to take this tool, and I would say this is probably the easiest tool to onboard among the LoadRunner Cloud family for anybody who starts anew or for anybody who wants to expand, because, again, doesn't require much installation, can take all the existing scripts and run them. Okay, so the performance, the performance analysis, understanding of how the application the application user load affects the application performance, the server performance, databases performance is something that is paramount to making sure that the performance of the application in production is going to be not subpar, but a good performance and provide good user experience to everybody. So this is where the dashboards and reporting capabilities of LoadRunner Cloud are coming into place. Everything, all the runs that you have created, they are inside the same database, and you can do trending, you can do comparisons between the runs, you can monitor specific transaction as a key part across different builds, across different test runs, configure SLAs, etc., etc. So all those things are available to do. Just to show here, this is a quick illustration of how LoadRunner Cloud helping with modern DevOps, DevSecOps, and agile development follows the rule by itself. So you can see here the new functionality and new added value is delivered by the team pretty much on a quarterly basis. Every time additional protocols are supported, new functionality. And one of the biggest drivers of that is not only the international community of developers, but also the international community of practitioners of LoadRunner. So I mentioned this technology exists for the last 30 years, and now the community of the specialists, of people who have touched LoadRunner, who used LoadRunner, who worked with LoadRunner, and those that have become the beta testers for the technology, and those that create the feature requests. This is what drives the development and improvement on LoadRunner and LoadRunner Cloud specifically. And I just wanted to mention that for anybody who thinks about LoadRunner family as being that obsoleted old tool, that's absolutely not true. As you can see, the value delivered all the time, and they are updated and very, very modern as well, which is beautiful because many enterprises are not moving at the speed of light, and lots of them cannot switch the practices, from tonight to tomorrow. And that's the reason why LoadRunner is great, because it is capable of supporting traditional practices and processes as well as modern ones. And that allows this tool to be a central technology for performance validation and performance management inside the enterprise, servicing multiple departments. So that's kind of a few words about LoadRunner Cloud and some slides. Let me switch real quick, and I know we have not much time, but I wanted to walk you quickly through the actual GUI of LoadRunner Cloud. So let me switch to that. This is what you will get when you're logging into the account. And as you can see, there is always what's new, the new version that is coming up. The main view here consists of, and this is important to know because, again, goes back to quick and easy onboarding. This shows you what you have been done, what work has been done until now. These are the recent runs. These are the latest modifications on the tasks that you have been doing. The help is always a click away. Both video tutorials library is very extensive. The help center is like an Encyclopedia Britannica, which is easily searchable for you. Support, again, is a click away. And, as I said before, the community is the source of many ideas that LoadRunner Cloud implements. Every test here, by clicking on the iteration, you can always get to the metrics. So you can start with the report that will show you the general metrics about this particular run, which transactions improved, which transactions stayed the same, which ones got worse and require investigation. A total of all the aspects of the test results are going to be here. So for those who are familiar with the LoadRunner Professional and LoadRunner Enterprise analysis application, this is going to be a new way to absorb and process the information. So some things are going to look familiar, but the manipulation is going to be done differently. Dashboard is the analysis component. So this is where you perform the analysis. And as you can see, the amount of information here can be pretty large. That's why the analysis, web analysis component is built in a way that reminds us of Excel spreadsheet with different tabs. And you can, every time you can create a new tab and say, I want to see a particular metrics on that tab. So you go to a specific location, a specific transaction, a specific error, and you want to see what happened there. And you just click on it. And every time you click on something, it can appear in the graph as well as in the table at the bottom. So that helps with understanding and putting things together when you're triaging. But before we go into triaging, we always want to see if we had any issues that will float up. So this is your task status at the top, and you can always see if there were errors, particular errors. You can look at the screenshots that were taken for that purpose, depending on the protocol that you're using. Anomalies is something that LoadRunner Cloud will deduce for you on its own. So let's say, anomaly can be something like this transaction SLA is supposed to be 5 seconds, and 100 transactions ran with a response time of 3 seconds, but this one transaction instance iteration came back with 4.5 seconds response time. So it didn't break the SLA, but it's still an anomaly. And the same goes about SLA warnings if something breaks. So that's kind of like a quick view at the analysis. You can compare different runs. You can set one run as a benchmark, and then you can compare between them, and it will allow you to build the table with that type of transaction summary. So that's something that you will be able to do. And a bunch of many more things allowing you to get a good view and a good understanding of what went wrong if something did. And if something didn't, then we're just moving on. To build a test, I'm just going to go through a few quick steps here. How do we get to this? So this will look very similar to building, for those that have worked with LoadRunner before. This is going to look very similar to building a scenario, which is going to consist of adding a script from the assets or uploading it. And it can actually be directly uploaded from your ViewGen, which is the tool that is used to create the scripts. And scripting itself is very easy as well now, because you have tools such as TrueClient that allow you to pretty much create simple scripts and complicated scripts, but with a lot of ease, because there is no correlation required and everything like that. So uploading the scripts from here is as simple as logging into LoadRunner Cloud, which is basic login. And then the script is uploaded and you can reload it there as well. So it will be always updated. The configuration of the virtual users, how many, how long the test should run, how to load them. So you can start with ramp up, duration, how long the tear down is going to be, and this is going to reflect. The scheduling can be controlled as well, and you can run the test, as you can see, from the cloud load generators or on premise. Just a second, everybody. I apologize. This is a little bit of the a reality of working from home office that somebody can just ring in your door at any moment. I'm sorry about that. And we're almost done. So important thing to mention here is that, as I mentioned, it can drive the load from the cloud, but it can also allow you to install on-premise load generators. And that will allow you essentially to not deal with some of the aspects of access to your internal application environments. So, it will support, as I said, all the modern practices as well as the traditional ones. One big important thing to mention here is going to be monitoring. So with LoadRunner, we're applying pressure to the system, but we also want to look at what's happening inside as we apply that pressure. And if something breaks, why that happened. And all these technologies that LoadRunner Cloud integrates with allow you to understand that pretty well, because it brings the information into the same dashboard, into the same location. And we have about 1 minute left, I think, right, Terry? I'm gonna just show you guys this is the distribution, the global distribution of the locations where the load run can be driven from. And all you got to do is configure these things and click run the tests. And essentially, this is where the flexible licensing is going to kick in, or subscription or consumption based. All the infrastructure is ephemeral, so nothing exists before the test starts. And it allows you to do a completely asynchronous and concurrent work, because nothing prevents anybody else right now to log in and go and create their own tests and run them. And the only thing that you're going to be limited by is the amount of virtual user licensing applied to that account. So this is pretty much the story of LoadRunner Cloud in a few short minutes. We'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys might have, and show more specific things on individual sessions whenever you guys contact us and ask for a demo. Terry, back to you.
Yeah, Julio, did you want to take one or two questions and then we can dive right into trivia?
Yeah, so great presentation, Alex. Great stuff, great information. Hopefully everybody can see the value that LoadRunner Cloud brings to the table. One of the things, right, that often comes up is support for a CI/CD tool chain, right? So a continuous integration, continuous testing. Is this something that I can use with my CI/CD platform like a Jenkins?
Yeah, 100%. So LoadRunner Cloud is an open architecture tool, meaning that all the things that I have shown you guys done manually through the GUI, right? You can do all these things through API calls. Micro Focus actually developed few plugins for mainstream technologies such as Jenkins, Bamboo, TeamCity, and one of the latest and most popular, the ADO, which used to be the team server before. So Azure DevOps is also definitely supported. All the automated pipeline management tools are going to be supported via just writing the API script inside the pipeline and adding your performance tests as part of your pipeline. So yeah, definitely it supports all of them. Some of them out of the box, and for some of them, the users will need to write a simple script of initiating the test, getting the test results at the end, and that's how the pipeline manager will be able to decide whether to continue the pipeline or stop it and return it for debugging and triaging. Does it answer the question, Julio?
Yep, it does. Thank you. Thank you. That's great information. And then also, one of the common things that, I've seen in the industry, in the field, is that you generate a lot of data, right? When you're going through your daily routine of performance testing and so on. Can we get data out of this platform, right? So can I get the raw numbers? Can I get the Excel spreadsheets with the numbers and the data that I might want to continue working on with a BI solution or even with Excel?
Right. So all those options are available to you. So in any test result, well, when you're running, there is an option to export the results and the views that you have. So you can export them to CSV for further analysis. You can export them to PDF and Word for emailing them or manipulating them in the native format of whatever folks are using as reports. Actually, when you're even configuring the test, you get to decide whether at the end of the test you would like the results to be sent to someone, and that can be a multiple emails list. So, people can be notified, and this is the report. And the reports don't have to be heavy, frankly. So whenever you get the report, you can configure a template of what you would like to be presented in the report. So you saw these checkboxes here, right? You can basically say, I want just a summary to be sent to specific people, and then they will see just a summary and pass, fail. And this is typically what management likes to see, the green and red, right? I mean, These are the things that they want to know.
It sounds very easy to use. It sounds very not only intuitive, but also kind of takes the headache away of having to maintain any on-premise hardware, if you will, right? So, and I just want to make sure that this is 100% SaaS, right? There's nothing on-prem that I need to manage, no generators or controllers or anything like that.
You don't have to. You don't have to, but you can. And so, as I mentioned, there is one component of the LoadRunner that sometimes needed to be on-premise. And the two main reasons for that can be a access issue. So if your application is exposed to the internet, no problem of generating the load from the cloud without any modifications or any changes to the way the tests are run. So the load generator is just sending requests from the cloud into the application, gets responses, measures them, provides the results. However, sometimes that requires access, especially if the environment is not exposed to the internet. In that case, there are a couple of ways to work with that. One of them is Micro Focus can configure those ephemeral load generators for whenever they spin up, they can spin up with a particular static IP address. And so those static IP addresses can be configured in different geographical locations where the load generators will be, and then provided to the IPsec group of the organization, and they can whitelist them so they can access through the firewall. So that's number one. And another case might be there are just a few of the legacy protocols that are not supported by the cloud load generators, but sometimes folks need to test them, and then they can install load generators locally in their test environment, and they can connect them. And I'm showing this right now on the screen. They can connect them to the tenant, and the tenant is that number right here, which is the account of the application team in the company that bought the subscription. So they can have on-premise load generators, which are very quick and simple to install, and those can be connected to the tenant and run locally. And the beauty of it is that access for these ones is very simple, because they are not required to have inbound ports open, only outbound SSL 443, so very secure. Did that answer the question? Sorry for the long-winded explanation.
No, it's quite all right. No, it certainly does. It certainly does. Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't see any questions, any other questions on the chat right now, but if anybody has anything, please do.
Hi, Alex, thank you. So I have a couple of questions. This is Yohan here.
Hi, Yohan.
Hi. So you mentioned CSV and HAR file. We can control the execution from the continuous integration through this, right? So how can we use that? Is there any documentation you can share the link? Uh,
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, let's start with the end, the link. So, I like that, the big book of help for LoadRunner and any other micro focus tools. So ADM stands for Application Development Management. So all the things pertaining to these tools are just a quick search away. This is literally like Google, so you can find any of these things inside the topic or outside it. But the general process, I'm going to share this, by the way, in the chat right now. So anybody is definitely welcome to explore those. So that's and then configuring the test is something that can be done either as as the YAML file. It can be a JSON file, and LoadRunner Cloud has ability to listen to the API calls. So the test definitions and the HAR file that was used to create the test, it can all be referenced. One thing to show here was, I think one of the questions, was that a good answer, Jovan? Does this make sense?
I'm trying to understand. So I understand that we can create a YAML file, right? So where we can find the YAML file? So in the any automation engine we can point out, and then that will read the automation engine will read the YAML with the.
So that is something that you will need something to send the API call. So like, I don't know, a Postman would be for validation, but typically this is something that will go into some sort of automation component that will send that API call to start a test, and will feed a YAML file to that to the LoadRunner Cloud. Connect to it, log in, perform authentication, and then send it over. So that would be the typical way to deal with that.
Okay, so related question. So earlier with the Performance Center Enterprise, right, Enterprise Edition, we are having a plugin for to support automation engines like Jenkins, Bamboo, right? So through a plugin from the automation engine, we can control the test executions. So you're saying we have some CLI kind as part of this cloud version where we can write API calls from the automation engine to control the test executions.
You do have the CLI command line interface. So this is something that is going to be referenced here. It's essentially utilizing its own Node.js capability. So it's kind of like running from your local Node.js instance, and that will allow you to do that. But also the regular plugins that you mentioned, those are available, and you can definitely download them. One thing to mention that I would say, those plugins are all within 1.0, meaning that they are provided on as-is basis. That's kind of how that can be done.
Okay, can you just ping the whole path for the CI? So you also shown the collaboration platform like Microsoft Teams and stuff, right? So after the test execution is complete, we can send a notification to Microsoft Teams or some other collaboration platform, right? So is it part of the plugin, or we have to control it through CLI?
I would say that both are possible. And as said, the reason I mentioned the version of the plugin being 1.0, it's because they are pretty much open source. You can take them and modify them. Those plugins are pretty much pieces of script, pieces of code. So you can definitely do it that way. and modify the plugin. So you can do it from both.
Okay.
Okay, I think Julio has answered a couple offline as well.